Do you think a 6-year-old can forgive a man who never knew she existed? Ryan Whitmore stared at his reflection in the hospital's window, his voice low, almost trembling, as if the question had been circling inside him for years, but had only now clawed its way to the surface. Behind him, the hum of machines echoed like the ticking of a clock he could never turn back. Just hours ago, he was the man who owned everything wealth power control, but now all of that felt meaningless next to the fragile weight of his daughter's life. He had missed her first words, her first steps, every scraped knee and bedtime story. And yet here he was, about to give her something that no one else could a second chance. What haunted him wasn't the surgery or the risk. It was this one agonizing thought: would she ever call him dad and truly mean it? If you stay with this story, you'll witness the decision that changed everything. Not just for Ryan, but for the child who unknowingly taught him what it means to love with no conditions. And something even more unexpected is coming, something that will redefine family in the most breathtaking way. How could she not show up? Ryan Whitmore's voice thundered through the 40th floor of Whitmore Digital's Manhattan headquarters. His Italian tie was already loosened, his coffee untouched. We offered her triple the standard salary for a digital marketing director. Triple Caroline. Caroline, his assistant, stepped back from the glass desk as if afraid of catching fire. I checked the list 3 times, sir. Camilla Reyes didn't show up at 9. We called, no answer. Ryan clenched his jaw. At 35, he'd built one of the country's fastest-growing tech empires from the ground up. He was methodical, calculating, and most of all, he hated being stood up. Give me her number. I'll handle it. Sir, maybe that's not a good number, Caroline. His voice left no room for discussion. With trembling fingers, Caroline handed over the contact card. Ryan dialed, his thumb pressed hard on the screen. 1 ring, 2, 3. Hello, a tiny, sweet voice answered. Ryan frowned. That was definitely not Camilla Reyes. Is Camilla there? He asked, more confused than annoyed now. She's crying, the voice replied honestly. She's in her room. She said the job interview was important, and now we can't pay the rent. Ryan froze. Who is this? I'm Lucy. I'm 6. Who are you? He cleared his throat. Ryan Whitmore. Silence. Then suddenly excitement burst through the speaker. Mom, it's him. It's the job man. Ryan heard footsteps, a scuffle, a woman's voice rising in panic. Lucy, give me the phone. I told you not to answer that. But Mom, it's him. It's Mr. Whitmore, I said. Give it. Ryan leaned closer to the phone as Lucy's voice returned, quiet but sincere. Mr. Ryan, please give my mommy the job. She's really smart. She knows all about computers. And, she paused, and Mommy says, you're my dad. The world tilted. Ryan's hand went numb. The phone almost slipped from his grasp. What? What did you just say? You're my daddy. Mommy said so. Is that true? Is that why you never come see me? His vision blurred for a moment. A second later, the phone was snatched away. Lucy, go to your room. Now. But Mom. Now. Ryan stood there stunned as a new voice, familiar trembling, filled the line. Ryan. Camilla. It's me. What the hell is going on? Is it true silence? Camilla. He pressed his voice quieter now. Is it? Another pause. I tried to contact you, she whispered. Years ago. You never returned my calls. I never got any calls. I emailed. I called. Your assistant said you were always in meetings, that you were unavailable. Ryan's head started spinning. 7 years ago, Monterey, the tech conference, one night. He just closed his first major investment. She was brilliant, sharp, witty. They'd argued over AI, drank wine, debated late into the night, and then Camilla. She had stayed with him until morning. I remember now, Ryan said, barely breathing. You said you'd call. You never did. I thought maybe it didn't mean anything to you. It did, he whispered. I got pulled into work. After the conference, I flew to San Francisco, then London, then Tokyo. Exactly. You chose your empire, and I was left to raise her alone. She's my daughter. The words choked him. Camilla, I didn't know. If I had, you'd what dropped everything, raised her with me. Come on, Ryan, I don't care what it takes. I want to see her. No, Camilla, please. You don't get to show up now and suddenly want to be a father. I'm not asking for your permission. I'm coming. The line went dead. Ryan sat in silence, the phone still against his ear. Caroline stood frozen in the corner. Cancel all my meetings for the day, he said without looking up. Find everything you can on Camilla Reyes, address, current job, anything. Yes, sir. When she left, Ryan opened the bottom drawer of his desk and pulled out an old leather wallet. He hadn't touched it in years. Inside, wedged between outdated business cards and faded receipts, was a single elegant card. Camilla Reyes. Digital Strategies for the Future. He stared at the name that designed her handwriting. Suddenly, he remembered her laugh, the way she challenged his thinking, the warmth in her eyes when she'd talked about someday teaching children to code. He'd forgotten everything that mattered, until now. A few hours later, Caroline returned. She lives in East Harlem, she said quietly. Still does freelance marketing, raising Lucy alone. Her landlord is about to evict them. Ryan's throat closed. And the calls 12. In the first 3 months after Monterey. Also 5 emails. Your former assistant marked them all non-priority. Martinez, she nodded. He slammed the drawer shut. How could he not have known? He stood up, grabbed his keys and headed straight to his car. There was no driver this time. No suit. Just a man in a black t-shirt speeding toward the truth he should have faced 6 years ago. As he parked on a cramped street lined with worn brick buildings, something shifted inside him. He wasn't just here to apologize. He was here to claim something he'd never known he lost. And maybe, just maybe, fight to be the father he never imagined he could be. We're so sorry to pause the story at this point, but we promise what happens next will break your heart and heal it at the same time. Would you forgive someone who abandoned you without knowing? Let us know in the comments, and if this story moved, you give it a like and share it with someone who still believes in second chances. The blue door creaked open slowly. Behind it stood Camilla, her hair pulled into a loose bun, eyes wary, arms crossed protectively over her chest. And clinging to her side, peeking around her hip, was Lucy. For a second, Ryan couldn't speak. Lucy looked exactly like him. Those same deep green eyes, that same dimple on her left cheek. Even the way she tilted her head, curious, cautious, was so unmistakably familiar that Ryan felt the breath catch in his throat. Mom, Lucy whispered, "Is he really my dad?" Camilla hesitated, her jaw tensed. Then quietly, "Yes, honey, he is." Lucy took a step forward, her tiny hand clutching a worn notebook. "Hi," she said with a shy smile. "I drew something. Want to see?" Ryan crouched to her level, swallowing hard. "Yeah, I'd love to." She flipped open the notebook and pointed to a crayon drawing. 3 stick figures, a woman with long hair, a little girl, and a taller man. But the man was drawn in dotted lines like a ghost. Faint. Missing. "Mom says you've always been with us. Just invisible." The words hit him harder than any boardroom betrayal ever had. Camilla knelt down. "Lucy, why don't you go get your markers? You said you wanted to show him your superhero series." Lucy grinned and dashed down the hall, leaving them alone. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come," Camilla said, her voice quieter now. Ryan's eyes didn't leave the hallway where Lucy had disappeared. "She looks exactly like me." "She does," Camilla said, "and she asks about you constantly." I tried not to let the absence define her, but kids know when something's missing. "I never got those calls, Camilla. The emails, the letters." "I know," she said. "Your assistant Martinez." "I figured it out too late. I almost flew to your office once just to yell in your face." "You should have," he said bitterly. "I deserved it." A long silence. "Can I come in?" he finally asked. She hesitated, then nodded. The apartment was small but tidy. A laptop sat open on the kitchen table, displaying a half-finished pitch deck. Crayon drawings filled the refrigerator door. The space was clearly lived in, built on a delicate balance of survival and love. Camilla poured 2 mugs of coffee without asking. He sipped it, burning his tongue, but not reacting. "How did you do this alone for 6 years?" "I didn't have a choice," she said simply. "I got offers to move abroad, work with major agencies. I turned them all down. Lucy needed consistency more than I needed ambition." Ryan looked down, guilt clawing at his chest. "I want to make this right," he said. "Not just money, not just gifts. I want to know her." Camilla's eyes narrowed. You say that now, but what happens when you get busy again? When Japan calls or Wall Street wants another merger? I don't know, he said honestly, but I'm here now, and I'm not leaving. She watched him for a long moment. Then unexpectedly, her lips trembled. You know what's funny? I kept your business card all these years. Not because I wanted your money, but because part of me hoped you'd call one day, and now here you are, right when everything's falling apart. What do you mean? She hesitated. Our rent is overdue. I lost my last contract. Lucy hasn't said it out loud, but she's scared. She keeps asking if we'll have to move again. I've kept us afloat for so long, Ryan. I don't know if I can keep doing it. I can help, he said quickly. No, she raised her hand. Not like that. If you're going to be in our lives, you'll do it with heart, not a checkbook. I understand. Just then a loud crash came from Lucy's room. Camilla sprang up. Ryan followed as they rushed down the hall. Lucy was sitting on the floor surrounded by broken markers in a toppled chair. But she wasn't crying. She was holding her side, her little face pale. My tummy, she murmured. It hurts. Lucy Camilla knelt down, her face etched with panic. Honey, are you okay? It's like spinning inside. Ryan scooped her up without hesitation. We're going to the hospital. Now. The ER was a blur. Bright lights, white walls, cold plastic chairs, nurses and doctors rushing around them like a storm. Camilla clutched Lucy's hand as they wheeled her away. Ryan stood back, feeling helpless and utterly terrified. For the first time in his life, he had no plan, no control, nothing but raw fear pounding in his chest. He couldn't lose her, not now, not when he'd just found her. They waited in silence. Camilla finally broke it, her voice barely audible. She hasn't been eating much. I thought it was stress. But what if it's something worse? Ryan couldn't answer. When the doctor finally came in, his face was grave. We need to run more tests, he said. Her kidney function is abnormal. There's a possibility of a chronic condition. We'll know more soon. Ryan felt his knees go weak. He hadn't just missed her birthday parties and first words. He may have missed the warning signs of something far worse. As the doctor left, Ryan turned to Camilla. If it's serious, I'll do whatever it takes. Camilla didn't reply. She just stared at the door, her hands still clenched tight around Lucy's stuffed bunny. The war inside her between resentment and anger and hope raged silently. He had failed once. He could not fail again. We're truly sorry to pause here, especially now that the emotions are rising so intensely. But we promise what comes next will test everything they thought they knew about love, family, and sacrifice. Do you believe in second chances even when the stakes are life and death? Tell us in the comments, and if this story moved you, please give it a like and share it with someone who still believes that family is worth fighting for. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Machines beeped in slow, rhythmic patterns, and outside the window, the sky was beginning to lose its color to the weight of evening. Ryan sat in the corner, silent, watching Lucy sleep with an IV in her arm and wires tracking every fragile beat of her heart. Camilla hadn't left her side in hours. She hadn't cried, not once. But Ryan could see it, the way her fingers kept tracing the edge of Lucy's blanket, the tightness in her jaw, the unbearable stillness. It was the kind of silence that only came from someone who had run out of ways to be strong. The test results arrived just after midnight. The doctor walked in quietly, a folder in hand and weariness in his eyes. It's called focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, he said gently. A rare kidney condition, progressive, serious, but manageable with treatment. For now. Camilla's voice trembled for the first time. What does "for now" mean? The doctor hesitated. Eventually, Lucy will need a kidney transplant. Ryan's world stopped. I'll do it, he said instantly. Take mine. We'll test you, the doctor replied. But even with parents, it's not always a match. We have to be sure. They took his blood that morning. For the next 48 hours, everything moved like a blur. Consultations, charts, terms Ryan couldn't pronounce and didn't want to understand. Camilla barely slept. He barely breathed. And in those 2 days, something changed inside him. He stopped thinking like a CEO and started feeling like a father. When the results finally came, the doctor couldn't stop smiling. "Mr. Whitmore, you're not just a match," he said. "Your kidney is genetically perfect for her." Almost as if it was made just for Lucy. Ryan didn't hesitate. "Then let's do it." But Camilla pulled him aside that night. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "You could pay for a donor. You could fly in specialists. You don't need to give up a part of yourself." Ryan shook his head. "That's where you're wrong. I've spent my whole life giving parts of myself to the wrong things. Boardrooms, headlines, numbers. For once, I want to give something that matters." She looked at him long and hard, tears clinging to her lashes. "Aren't you scared?" "Terrified," he admitted. "But not for me. I'm scared of losing her before I ever really had the chance to be her dad." Surgery was scheduled 1 week later. The morning of the operation, Ryan kissed Lucy's forehead and whispered, "You're going to feel better soon. I promise." She blinked sleepily. "Are you scared, Daddy?" "Yeah," he smiled. "But brave people get scared too. And after, can we get ice cream, the biggest bowl they've got?" The transplant took 6 hours. When Ryan opened his eyes in recovery, the first thing he asked was, "Is she okay?" Camilla was already at his bedside, smiling through a flood of tears. "She's perfect. The doctors say it's one of the cleanest surgeries they've ever done." He let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Days turned into weeks. Lucy's strength returned with a vengeance. She laughed again, drew pictures again, demanded bedtime stories, and made up knock-knock jokes that barely made sense but always made them laugh. And Ryan, he never left her side. He resigned as CEO the following month. "I built a company," he told his stunned board. "Now I want to build something even harder, a family." Camilla stepped in as head of marketing. She worked from home, and together they found a rhythm breakfasts as a trio lazy Sunday mornings, with cartoons and pancakes, and every evening ending with Lucy curled up between them, giggling and warm. One night after Lucy had fallen asleep mid-book, Camilla turned to him on the couch. "You know what scares me now," she whispered. "What, that this isn't real, that I'll wake up and it'll all disappear." Ryan pulled her close. "This is the realest thing I've ever had, and it's not going anywhere." He proposed under the cherry blossoms in Central Park that spring. Lucy threw petals in the air, declaring herself maid of honor and official ice cream inspector. They married in a small ceremony behind their brownstone, surrounded by only the people who mattered. No press, no glamour, just a promise. A year later, they welcomed their second child, a boy named Jacob. Camilla held him in her arms while Lucy proudly proclaimed she would teach him everything she knew: how to draw superheroes, how to eat cereal without spilling, and how to hug so tight it hurt a little. Ryan stood by the window that night watching his family sleep. For a man who once measured his worth by company valuations, now all he needed was right there, breathing softly, wrapped in blankets, whole and safe. He didn't just find a daughter, he found himself. Now he finally knew the truth. Real success isn't what you build, it's who you come home to. Before we say goodbye, we want to ask you something. Would you have the courage to risk everything, even your health, for a child you just met but instantly loved? Do you believe people can truly change when given a second chance at love? How did this story make you feel? If you found it meaningful, comment no 1 or 3 below. If you felt it was just okay, write number 2. And if it didn't connect with you, number 1, we value your honesty. Also, let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to greet you in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to drop a heart, and share it with someone who still believes in the healing power of family.